It's so good to see you this morning. If we haven't met yet, my name is Gabe Graves, and I get to serve here with my wife, Bethany, as the small groups pastors, and we love getting to do that. And just because, man, you guys are awesome, and this church is awesome, and just the heart here is so good. And today, we're going to jump into a brand new series that I have been looking forward to for a while. Me and Trey had kind of been talking about it for a little bit, and the teaching team decided to get on board and do this series, and it's going to be so good. We're jumping into a series starting today for the next few weeks called Storyteller, and I'm excited about it because what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks is we're going to be talking about some common stories that you hear in the Bible that are just like, everybody knows these stories, okay? Like they're stories that you've known since you were a kid. And a lot of times even they're stories that people associate with kids' stories or like vacation Bible school, things like that. And we become so familiar with these stories that we sometimes overlook the power that's in them. We sometimes will even like skip it when we get to that story in our Bible reading plan maybe. It's like, yeah, I know that story, so I'm just going to skip this story. But we're going to spend some time slowing down, really getting into what the Bible is saying about these situations and these stories, because we sometimes, like I said, we forget that these are real people, real life, true stories, people's families, people's what they have, everything they know. This is real life stuff, and we can skim through it and miss some powerful things that are in it. And so we're going to be jumping through a few different stories over the next few weeks. I'm kicking the series off today, so I kind of got the pick of the litter to pick what story I wanted to jump into. These guys are like, yeah, jerk. But got the pick of the litter, and we're going to be talking about a story that you know. Everybody knows this story. I'm taking some liberties today to say I believe everybody knows the main things of this story. If you don't, it's okay. Come talk to me after and we'll fill some blanks in. But we're going to be talking about the story that you know of as David and Goliath. Listen, don't check me out right now. Please don't be like, David and Goliath, got it, AirPods, listen to the ball game from here on out. Like, hold on, stay with me, because we're going to point out some things that I believe that you've never seen before, because we're going to look at it through a different perspective today. We're going to look at it not necessarily through the eyes of David or Goliath, but we're going to look at it through the eyes of King Saul, who was the king of Israel at the time, the leader of Israel at the time. We're going to look at this story through his perspective. We're going to look at how he might have taken this story and how things might have been for him. So hold on, stay with me, don't check out on me right now, okay? So we're going to hop on into this story. Most of us are familiar with the story of David and Goliath, amen. You're familiar with this story of David and Goliath, and I'm just going to kind of set the scene for you and kind of let you know what's going on. So what we've got the army of Israel, God's people, that are on one hill. And if you can put in your mind maybe like a scene from Braveheart or my favorite movie, The Patriot, or like one of these scenes from a movie that's like an ancient battle where like they're all actually in the same place and they're ready yelling at each other across the way. And so right now in the story, you've got Israel, the Israelite army on one side, one hill, and they can see the other army. They're on one hill, and they've got all their gear on, their shield, they've got their armor, they've got weapons, they're ready to go to battle, and they're screaming things at the other army, which is the Philistine army, which serves pagan gods, and they're on another hill, and they're armed up, ready to go to battle, ready to see things happen. Now, the Israelite army has won a lot of battles, and they've won respect along the way. And they have full confidence at this point that they are going to run away and take care of the Philistine army. The Philistine army believes that they've got what it takes to take out the Israelite army. And so they're there ready, going at each other. But something happens, something changes that the Israelite army isn't expecting. They fully are prepared to fight each other, and they think this is probably pretty evenly matched. But something happens that they don't expect to happen. And at that time, the Bible talks about that the Philistine army sent out their champion. And in our minds, we immediately go to like the champion winner. But in this text, it's not necessarily talking about champion in that way. It's more talking about champion as a middleman or as a representative. And at that time, you could make a challenge to another army. And the Philistines decide that they're going to make a challenge to the Israelite army. And they send out their middleman, their champion, and his name is Goliath. Everybody knows that name? Yeah? His name is Goliath. And I'm going to read to you what Goliath says, but I want you to grab a hold of the moment, okay? Because this is real life. It's not a cartoon. It's not something made up. This is real life. And Goliath comes out to make this challenge. And the Bible talks about how big that Goliath is. We believe that Goliath, and some people can think different measurements. I'm not saying that this is 100%, but they believe Goliath is somewhere between 8.5, 9.5 feet tall. He's packing armor and weapons that weigh probably around 150 to 200 pounds. So you're not talking about some tall, lanky dude that you kick in the kneecap and he's going down. You're talking about some dude that's like strong, ready to go to battle. And he steps out and he's going to make this challenge. And I just want to put this picture in your head that the average size of an Israelite man at that time is about 5 feet to 5'3". My beautiful wife Bethany is 5'3". So if you can imagine a bunch of Bethanies running around and they're ready to go to battle. That's right. She's like, it's loud. Yeah, they're shouting, I guarantee you. Somebody's hearing somebody say something. So an army of Bethanies, but all of a sudden Goliath steps out. And if you can imagine, Shaq versus Bethany. And this is what he says. Here's the challenge that they weren't expecting. 1 Samuel 17, 8 through 10 says this. Goliath says, he stood and he shouted to the Israelite battle formations. Why do you come out to line up in battle formations? He asked them, am I not a Philistine and are you not servants of Saul? Remember that, he said servants of Saul. Choose one of your men and have him come down against me. If he wins in a fight against me and kills me, we will be your servants. Let's slow for a second. He's saying, it's me and I'm challenging one person, not the whole army. We're not going army against army. This is a legitimate challenge that carries weight. And I'm challenging one person. If he kills me, then we'll be your servants. But if I kill him, then you will be our servants, and you'll serve us. Then the Philistine said, I defy the ranks of Israel today. Send me a man so we can fight each other. So I challenge one person to come against me. And everything that you know, everything that you have is on the line. Your future is on the line. Your kids, all the dreams that you have for them, they're on the line. Everything, your holidays that you're used to going to, they're on the line. Send me one person to fight against me. They're not ready for that. And remember, he mentioned Saul. Saul was the king of Israel at the time. And just a little bit about Saul, because we're looking at this through his perspective a little bit. A little bit about Saul. Saul is the king of Israel. He's the first king of Israel. Israel hadn't had a king before, but they asked God that they said they wanted a king. God said, okay, I'll give you one. And the prophet Samuel, God spoke to him and said, you make Saul the king. So Saul, at this point in time, he's been king for years. But he wasn't like a baby that knew was going to be king, and his dad was king, and his dad was king. He was just a regular dude, young man. And one day a prophet Samuel comes and says, you're going to be king. And it talks about in the Bible that Saul was a good-looking dude. He was strong. It said that he's probably a head taller, so a little bit maybe closer to 6 foot, taller than all the other Israelites. It said that he made sense that he would be king. But he was also humble. He was a humble guy at the time. And in 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 21, when Samuel told Saul that he would be king, this is what he says. Saul responded to Samuel with, "Am I not a Benjaminite from the smallest of Israel's tribes? And isn't my clan the least important of all the clans of the Benjaminite tribe? So why have you said something like this to me?" He's basically saying, I'm nothing and I'm nobody from nowhere. So why are you choosing me? I'm not the one for the job. But Samuel says, you are the one for the job. And another part in 1 Samuel, it says that he anoints Saul to be king. And it says the power of the Lord comes on to Saul. And he starts prophesying things that he couldn't do before. He receives power that he didn't have before. And Saul, as a young man, when he starts being king, he starts receiving blessings. And he starts walking out the call that God has on his life. But he knows that he can't do anything on his own. It's the power of the Lord through him that makes it where he can overcome things. And so he starts living this life as king. And they fight battle after battle, and they win battle after battle, and they start receiving riches. They start getting respect. People are fearful of the army of Israel and King Saul, and they have all of this respect and all these things that are theirs. And somehow and somewhere along the way, which can be common with success, somewhere along the way, Saul's heart changed. And his heart went more from God is doing this, it's all him through me, to God's doing this and me, to I'm doing it and God is helping, to somehow it got into a prideful heart. Somehow his heart changed and he started wanting to take credit for things. He started putting stuff on his shoulders because his army and everything God was doing, he was able to overcome it, and he started wanting to take some credit for that. Somewhere along the way that happened. And it's working out for Saul pretty good. But then all of a sudden he faces a giant that he can't overcome. And I just want you to put yourself in Saul's shoes for a minute. Because now we're years down the road from when Saul first became king. And now he's facing a giant that's called him out in front of everybody. Because when he makes that challenge, who do you think everybody's eyes turn to? They turn to King Saul. What are you going to do about it? And King Saul has to take that weight on his shoulders because he's put it there himself. And he starts carrying this weight. Everybody's futures are in my hands. Everything that we've got is in my hands. All of the things that God has for my kids and their kids and that dude's kids over there is all up to me, and it's all on my shoulders. But remember, this is years down the road from when Saul was first king. So they think at this point, Saul is probably about 50, late 50s, mid to late 50s. I'm not mid to late 50s, but I am 38. And I have begun to experience things in my life that made it where I can't do the things that I could when I was 25. I could ball on my kids all day long when I was 25. I could cut left, cut right, go up for a layup, and all day long when I was 25. I ain't dunking. We ain't crazy. I'm being honest up here. All day long. But now I'm 38. I can't make those same cuts that I used to make. I might between the legs step back 3. We're working on that long game now because I can't do the things that I used to be able to do, right? 38 years old. I got to buy something last week that I've never gotten to buy before. Glasses. I meant to bring them. Things are getting blurry from distance, you know what I'm saying? That didn't used to be that way, right? You get your blood work done and the doctor's like, you need to take some vitamins. These types of things, get some energy going again. We get to experience all that. But King Saul, he doesn't have an optometrist to go to help his eyesight. He doesn't have somebody taking his blood work. All he knows is he's lost a step along the way. He knows that he can't see things like he used to be able to see. See, when you're carrying it all on your own, you have to start thinking about your limitations. Saul's having to start thinking about his limitations. Everybody's looking for him. You've always won the battle, or at least you've always taken credit for it. Now what are you going to do? Saul's experiencing a fear that he's not experienced before. And his worry and his fear is legitimate. And sometimes for us, we have to know that our worries and our fears, they are legitimate worries and fears on our own. Saul can't do it. I can't carry the weight of my family on my own. I can't carry the weight of a good marriage on my own. I can't carry the weight of being a father on my own. I can't carry the weight of walking out a life that people want to seek and find and follow Jesus on my own. I can't carry that weight. On my own, fear is going to rise up in me. But if I change from putting it on me to putting it on him, the story changes. See, in Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6, this is a common thing that all of Israel would know, something that Moses said to Joshua 400 years before. He said this is what Moses said, "Be strong and courageous. Don't be terrified or afraid of them, for the Lord your God is the one who will go with you, and he will not leave you or abandon you." All of Israel would know that. All of them would know it. King Saul knew that. But somehow he misplaced his trust. Somewhere along the way he misplaced his faith, and he didn't believe that like he used to believe it. But now I want to talk to you about a guy named David. So David, we know David. A lot of us know David. David, at this point in time, David is a young man, probably a teenager, 15, 16, somewhere in that range. And he's a young man. And as Saul has gone through things and Saul has changed his heart, God sees it. Prophet Samuel goes to Saul and says that you're no longer going to be king. I'm taking that away from you, but I found one who's greater than you that will be able to be king and lead in the right way. And Samuel leaves Saul and goes, he finds David, and he anoints, and he calls David king. He lets him know, you are going to be king. Now, it's all in secret at this point. Saul doesn't know this about David. Nobody knows this about David, but David's already been chosen to be the next king. Because David knows some things that not everybody, and believes in faith some things. His heart says his heart is like God's own heart. David believes this. And then so David comes, he meets his brothers. A lot of us know the story. Comes to the camp and he hears the challenge because Goliath's saying it day after day after day. And David says, let me go. Let me be the one that God uses because I'm going to kill this Philistine. Now that's powerful for some scrawny little dude to say. But when you believe, this next point is so good. My wife gave this to me when I was sharing her my notes, and I was like, I threw one point away and put this one in. When you know if dependence is the priority, then weakness is the advantage. David knew that he might be weak. He might not be the answer. He might on his own not be able to do it, but his priority was on the dependence of the Lord in his life. And he said, I know that I can't do it, but I know that he can do it through me because he's not going to stand for this Philistine talking this mess over his kingdom and over his people. So he's going to use somebody, and I believe enough that he's going to use me. If dependence is your priority, then weakness is your advantage. Now, somewhere along the way, they all got behind David because, be honest, they knew they weren't going to do it. So everybody gets behind David. King Saul gets behind David. They're all on his side. They're like, all right, listen, somebody's got to. We're going to trust David in this moment, and we're going to put our trust in him. Now, listen, I want you to know, I'm not saying, I don't believe this. I'm not saying that David is like a pre-incarnation of Jesus. But what I am saying is that in this moment, in this story, we're not David. In this moment, in this story, David is like a representation of Jesus to us. Someone who's greater than us, that we can't put our faith in ourselves, but we can put our faith in the one who's able to go to battle for us. And so in this situation, David is like a representation of Jesus. We're not. All right? So here we go. We're at the battle. And I didn't wear my Braves jersey because it's like some battle scene. It's like, this is my uniform. I just wore it because I like the Braves. So we're at this battle, and they're ready to go to battle against each other. You've got this army on this side. Their futures are in the hands of David. This army on this side, the Philistines, and their futures are in the hands of Goliath. And they're coming out to battle, and they start and they're ready to go against each other. And Goliath steps out. He's been saying for days all of this challenge. And now David steps out and he's ready to accept the challenge. This is pretty interesting right here, because what Goliath says almost makes it like he can't even believe that the Israelite army, that's King Saul, would even allow David to be the one that's used. He doesn't know David, but looking at him, he's like, this guy? So this is what happens. The battle's ready to happen, and the Philistine, Goliath, says this. It says, the Philistine came closer and closer to David, like, is this the dude that y'all are sending against me right now? He comes closer and closer to David. Somebody that's nothing, with the shield bearer in front of him. When the Philistine looked and he saw David, he despised him because he was just a youth, healthy and handsome. Something that Pastor Trey shared with me that I missed in this, that I thought was so good. The thing that Saul no longer has is the thing that Goliath hated about David. Young, healthy, handsome. He hated those things because now God was going to use somebody. It was somebody else's turn to step into that thing. And instead of trying to make David what he was, now he's trying to empower David to be who David has been called to be. And that's exactly who Goliath did not want to see. So he said, young, healthy, and handsome. He said to David, am I a dog that you come against me with sticks? Then he cursed David by his gods. Come here, the Philistine called to David, and I'll give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the wild beasts. Now Goliath's talking some nonsense to David right now. He's saying, you are nothing. You're never going to be able to overcome me. But on your own, you're just a boy. You don't have the ability to overcome me. Sometimes we hear that as followers of Jesus. You're never going to be able to calm anxiety in your life. You're nothing but an addict, and you'll never be able to break that cycle. All you are is someone that that lived in a broken marriage, and you're just a divorcee. You're never going to be able to overcome it. And with something interesting about David is said, you know what? You might be right. You're exactly right. That is who I am on my own. But whenever the Lord has empowered me, I'm way more than what you think that I am. I can overcome anything that you throw at me. And this is what David says. Somebody better jump and shout when I say this. David said to the Philistine, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin. You come against me on your own with your own power, all that you have. But I come against you in the name of the Lord of armies, the God of the ranks of Israel. You have defied him. Today the Lord will hand you over to me. I'm not going to be able to overcome you, but he is going to hand you over to me, because it's not me who fights this battle, but it's him through me that's fighting this battle and overcoming every enemy that comes at me. He said, today the Lord will hand you over to me. Today I'll strike you down, remove your head, and give the corpse of the Philistine camp to the birds of the sky and the wild creatures of the earth. Then all the world will know that Israel has a God, and his whole assembly will know that it is not by sword or by spear or by me myself. It's not David. It's not Gabe. It's not any of us, but it's from the Lord that saves. For the battle is the Lord's. He will hand you over to us. David took the lies of the enemy, and he said, you might be talking that nonsense to me, but I know that what you're speaking to me isn't at me. You're talking about the Lord who is living inside of me. Greater is he who's in the world that is in me than he who is in the world. And he has already overcome everything that you're trying to throw at me, Goliath. And I'm coming at you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies. Somewhere along the way, Saul had misplaced his hope, and he put it on himself. Anybody ever misplaced your hope along the way? My kids are far from him, and I got to figure out how to fix it. That ain't on you. You're putting something on your shoulders that's not yours to carry. You can't fix it, but you can go after the one who can, and he can bring them close to him. And he can be the one that brings them in. Maybe you're a teenager or a kid today, and you're saying, I'm seeing my parents fight. And I know that they're talking about divorce. And you're, as a kid, trying to carry that. God, I want to be able to overcome this. I want to be able to make sure my parents stay together. And I'm here to tell you, that's not your job. That's not on you. Your job is to pray and seek. Watch God move. And I'm here to tell you that even if they don't stay together, he can still use you to do great and mighty things. He's got a plan. He can take the broken and make something beautiful out of it. Because Jesus gives us the authority. So now we can speak to those things with the same confidence that David spoke to them. In Matthew 21:21, Jesus said this. Jesus answered them, "Truly I tell you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you tell this mountain, be lifted up and thrown into the sea, it'll be done." The same that David could speak to Goliath, you can speak to your enemy today. Because Jesus gives us that authority. Now David, we know what happens the rest of the story. David takes a sling and stone, he whacks that dude upside the head with a stone, falls to the ground, and then he takes his sword and chops his head off. David wins. David wins. But then what about Saul? In that moment, Saul's got a choice to make. Sometimes we seek after the Lord and he comes through for us, and now we've got a choice to make. Are we now going to put our trust in him, in Jesus, the one who was and is to come, or we're going to put our trust back on ourselves? Saul put his trust back on himself, and that led to falling and the demise of King Saul. David trusted the Lord, and David became king. And I want to talk through something really quick, and we're going to be done. But I want you to hear me because it's probably one of the most important things I'm going to say all day, okay? Goliath is dead, and the battle is won, and we want to say the end, because that's the end in Vacation Bible School. The end. But that ain't the end. That's that battle. There's another enemy. David's got battle after battle after battle. When we accept Jesus as Lord of our life, we are secure in him. But I want you to hear this one thing. There is always an enemy either making a challenge or preparing to in your life. But what we do with it will determine our outcome. You're secure in your salvation when you ask him to be Lord of your life. But that doesn't mean that anxiety isn't coming. That doesn't mean that addiction might not show back up again. That doesn't mean that fights in your house will never happen again. The enemy is still coming, and we still have to keep seeking after him. First thing I want you to know is our faith has to be in Jesus and following him. If we're going to overcome those enemies, if we're going to be able to have our future and our kids' future secure and walking in the things that God has, we have to follow and have faith in and follow Jesus. 1 Thessalonians 5:16 and 17. It's not going to show up. I want you to hear this. If you ever wanted to memorize a scripture, this one's a great one. 1 Thessalonians 5:16 and 17. Rejoice always and pray constantly. Rejoice always because you are secure in Jesus. He is by your side and he's never going to leave you. He's always on your side, but you better be praying constantly because that enemy's coming. You better be seeking his face. You better not ever put that back on your shoulders again because you're not going to be able to carry it. You got to pray constantly so that you can continue to overcome. Number 2, get in his word so that you know the truth. You've got to be in his word. And I'm not telling you got to memorize all the scriptures. Sometimes it's where our mind goes. I'm just telling you got to run to his word when the enemy comes knocking at your door. And you can't use excuses. Don't let yourself use an excuse. I don't know any scriptures about anxiety. Well, Google it. And in about 2 seconds, it'll give you 5,000 scriptures about anxiety. And get in it and read it. Put it in your heart. When you're struggling with addiction, get in it. Read his word, believe it, and walk that out. You got to get in his word and you got to run to it. And 3, you got to fight the temptations of the enemy with boldness, just like David. Fight the temptations. When the enemy comes at you with stuff, you've got to fight it. there's another part in David's life, and this is the end. Another part in David's life that I thought was so good, and it might sound familiar. So years later, after Goliath, David's been king for years, and he's fought battles, and he's got chased by Saul. He's went through junk. Anybody in here ever went through junk? Going through it. And he's getting to the end of his life. And David is now with his son because David has been faithful, and he's with his son, Solomon. And Solomon's fixing to walk out one of the things that he was called to do in building the temple. David was not able or allowed to do that. Solomon was the one to do that job. And Solomon is getting ready to take this on to build the temple. And again, this is real life. Doubts have to enter Solomon's head. Things are entering his head. Can I do this? Are we going to be able? All these types of things. And David, who's at the end of his life, gone through all these things, he says something to Solomon that I thought was so powerful. And it might sound familiar from Deuteronomy, but this is in 1 Chronicles 28:20. It says, "Then David said to his son Solomon, 'Be strong and courageous. Do the work. It's going to be hard.' When I was out there messing with those sheep, it was hard. When I was out there fighting Goliath, it was hard. When I was running from Saul, it was hard. But you got to do the work. When that anxiety comes at you, it's going to be hard. When that addiction rises up, it's going to be hard. Something happens in your life that's out of control, it's going to be hard, but you got to do the work. We have to do the work. Don't be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord God, my God, the one that was with me when Goliath came and I knew that he was going to use me, that God, the one that guided me all through my life against battle after battle, the one who brought me in redemption when I messed up, when I was walking in sin, that God, he's going to be with you. He won't leave you, Solomon. He won't abandon you until all the work of the service of the Lord's house is finished. He's going to walk with you. He's going to stick through the hard times with you. He's going to be right there beside you until all the works that he has for you are finished. And that's the same is true for us. When we say yes to Jesus, when we start walking that out, he is going to be with you. We have to be strong. We have to be courageous. We have to know that the hard times are coming, but we're going to do the work. And we have to know that he will be with us every step of the way. And listen, and it's going to be worth it. Because David is getting to see something that we may not have gotten to see yet. David is trying to help his son follow and seek and follow God. When we say yes and we do the work, then we get to talk to our kids and say, it was hard in those moments, but it was worth it because I see what God's doing in and through your life. It might be hard in the moment, but it's always worth it because he won't leave you. He won't forsake you. With every head bowed, every eye closed. Today, if you know I've been carrying weight after weight and I need to take that off my shoulders and I want to place that on Jesus' shoulders. If today you're saying, I've never said yes to Jesus, but today you want to, then I'm going to pray a prayer. And if you pray after me, or if you know what to pray, pray it. But if you don't, if you pray this prayer after me and you mean it with all of your heart, you ask Jesus to be Lord of your life, he will come. He'll save you, and he'll be with you for the rest of your life. I'm going to pray this prayer, and if you want to make Jesus Lord of your life today, pray this after me, and he'll be faithful. Father, I'm sorry. I'm carrying weight that I can't carry. I'm taking that weight off today, and I'm putting it on you. Jesus, be Lord of my life. I believe you lived, you died, you were raised to life again. And today I make you Lord of my life. Come into my heart. Make me yours today. In Jesus' name.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to one of our messages. We hope that God spoke to you through it. We would love to know what your experience was. Did you cross the line of faith? Do you have a question about your experience or about something in the message? There's a link in the description below. Be sure to click that link, reach out to us. We would love to connect with you. We would love to provide resources for you. So let us know, and we hope to hear from you soon.